A little girl's beanie hides a secret that's stealing her life. One teacher's heart could be her only salvation. Comment now. Who's been your hero when you felt lost? Cedarville Elementary was the pulse of a cozy American suburb, where autumn splashed the maples with crimson and the air hummed with the scent of pumpkin spice from the town's weekend fair. On a brisk Monday morning, the school buzzed with the vibrant chaos of a new week first graders clutching shiny backpacks, parents exchanging quick hugs at the drop-off, the distant thump of a marching band practicing for the homecoming game. Inside room 14, Ms. Jenna Harper, 32, stood at her whiteboard, her auburn hair tied in a loose bun, her warm smile a lifeline for her students. But beneath that smile burned a quiet scar. Last year, she had failed to spot a student's silent plea for help, a mistake that landed her on probation and haunted her sleep. On her desk, a faded photo of her late sister, Emily, lost to neglect and foster care, stared back with eyes that seemed to say, "Not again." Jenna, the classroom door squeaked, and Lila Carter slipped in, a 7-year-old wisp in a navy beanie pulled low over her brow. Her blue eyes, sharp and guarded, swept the room, the colorful alphabet border, the faint whiff of crayons, the chatter of kids swapping Pokemon cards. Her small hands clung to the beanie's edges, fingers trembling as if it were her only anchor. "Miss Harper's." "Good morning?" Lila drew a quick nod, her lips pressed tight. The way Lila's shoulders hunched, the flicker of fear in her gaze, set off alarms in Mrs. Harper's chest. 8 years of teaching had taught her to read the unspoken, and Lila was screaming without a sound. "Okay, everyone, let's hang up our jackets and hats." "Ms. Harper called, pointing to the hooks by the door. The kids scampered, tossing caps and hoodies into a messy pile, their laughter bouncing off the walls. But Lila stood rooted, her breath shallow. "I can't," she whispered, her voice so faint Mrs. Harper had to step closer. "Mom says I'll lose everything if I take it off." The word everything carried a raw edge of panic, like a plea wrapped in a threat. "Ms." Harper's heart stuttered. She glanced at Emily's photo, her sister's smile a silent prod, and forced a gentle nod. "All right, Leela, keep it on for now." As the morning unfolded, Leela's beanie became a beacon of distress. During circle time, as Ms. Harper read a story about a brave rabbit, Lila winced sharply, a soft gasp escaping when she shifted to see the pictures. Her hand flew to the beanie, adjusting it with frantic care, as if something beneath might spill out. Miss Harper's eyes lingered, her pulse quickening. At the "what I love sharing" circle, Lila clutched her beanie, her voice barely above a whisper. "I love my grandma's beanie," she said, her eyes glistening. "She made it for me before she was gone." The crack in her voice, the way her fingers traced the frayed stitches, hit Ms. Harper like a fist. Loss was a language she spoke fluently, and Lila was drowning in it. Recess offered no escape, while classmates raced across the playground, shrieking in games of freeze tag. Lila tucked herself under a sycamore tree, her knees drawn up, her hands never leaving the beanie. Ms. Harper watched from the sidelines, her coffee untouched, her mind racing. Lila's isolation wasn't new kid shyness, it was a wall, built to keep the world out. When Mia, a kind-hearted girl with braided pigtails, bounded over and tugged playfully at Lila's beanie. "Love the color," Lila flinched as if slapped, her hands flying to cover it. "Don't," she gasped, scrambling to her feet and sprinting to the bathroom. Meh. Harper followed, her heart pounding, and heard quiet sobs through the stall door. "Lila, honey, are you okay?" she called. No answer, just the faint sound of Lila's trembling fingers adjusting her beanie, locking her secret back in place. Back in class, during a spelling activity, Lila's distress grew sharper. Her pencil moved slowly, her face pale, her free hand constantly touching the beanie, as if to reassure herself it hadn't slipped. When Mrs. Harper asked her to spell hope, Lila stood, but a sudden wince dropped her to her knees, her hands clutching the beanie as a small, pained whimper escaped. The class froze, eyes wide. Miss Harper rushed over, kneeling beside her. "Lila!" "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'm fine," Lila mumbled, but her feverish cheeks and glassy eyes betrayed her. Ms. Harper helped her to her seat, her mind screaming, "This isn't fine." At lunch, Lila sat alone in the cafeteria's corner, her sandwich untouched, her hands never straying from the beanie. A lunch aide, Miss Delaney, approached with a smile. "Sweetie, why not take off that hat to eat?" Lila's reaction was visceral. She curled into herself, shaking her head so hard the beanie slipped, revealing a flash of red. Inflamed skin at her temple, she yanked it down, her hands shaking, and Mrs. Judd Delaney stepped back, her eyes meeting Miss Harper's across the room. That glimpse of red skin, raw and angry, sent a chill through Mrs. Harper. This wasn't a keepsake. It was a shield hiding something awful. By the afternoon's drawing activity, Leela's spark flickered briefly. "Asked to draw what I want to be." She sketched a girl in a beanie holding a notebook, her crayon moving with care. "A writer," she whispered when Mrs. Harper leaned in, "to tell us stories no one else can." The quiet strength in her voice, the weight of no one else, tugged at Miss Harper's heart. But as Lila reached for a new crayon, another wince seized her, her hand pressing the beanie so hard her knuckles whitened. "I'm sorry," she gasped, dropping the crayon, her eyes wide with fear, as if she had broken some unspoken rule. Ms. Harper touched her shoulder gently. "It's okay, Lila. You're safe here." But the girl's trembling, the way her gaze darted to the door, said safety was a foreign word. As dismissal neared, Ms. Harper watched Lila join the bus line, her beanie a stark contrast to the bright backpacks around her. Her steps were slow, her small frame hunched, as if the weight of her secret was crushing her. That evening, in her dimly lit apartment, Mrs. Harper sat at her kitchen table, Emily's photo beside her, the locket at her neck heavy with memory. Lila's poem, found in her cubby, lay open before her. "My head hurts. My heart's sore. I'm locked behind a secret door." Each word was a knife, carving out Miss Harper's resolve. She pulled out her laptop and typed a note. "Lila Carter, beanie, wincing. Fear, red skin. This is a crisis." Emily's loss had seared one truth into her secrets, like Lila's could destroy a child. Whatever was under that beanie pain, shame, or something worse, Harper would uncover it, even if it cost her job, her reputation, or the fragile trust she was building with the girl who echoed her sister's ghost. Tuesday morning broke over Cedarville Elementary with a gray drizzle, the air heavy with the scent of wet leaves and the low hum of school buses pulling into the lot. Miss Jenna Harper arrived before dawn, her coffee untouched, her heart pounding from a sleepless night, haunted by Lila Carter's poem. "My head hurts. My heart's sore. I'm locked behind a secret door." The words, scrawled in a child's shaky hand, burned in her mind, a plea she couldn't ignore. She slipped into the school office, her breath catching as she opened Lila's file. Knowing the risk, with her probation looming, accessing records without permission could end her career. But the glimpse of red, inflamed skin under Lila's beanie, her feverish wince, and her whispered fear. "Mom says I'll lose everything." Left no choice. The file was sparse, but a single note from Lila's previous school stopped Mrs. Harper. Cold health concerns reported. CPS contacted. Case closed for lack of evidence. Her stomach churned. Someone else had seen this before. And Lila was still suffering. When Lila shuffled into room 40, her navy beanie pulled lower than ever. Miss Harper's resolve hardened. The girl's face was ghostly pale, her eyes glassy, and she moved with a careful slowness, as if each step sent pain radiating through her. During morning calendar time, Miss Harper noticed Lila's hands trembling as she held her pencil, her beanie slightly askew, revealing another flash of raw, red skin at her hairline. She quickly adjusted it, her gaze darting to Ms. Harper, who pretended not to see but felt her heart lurch. This wasn't just a medical issue, it was a secret Lila was terrified to expose. Miss Harper seized a quiet moment during reading to pull Lila aside. "You don't look like you're feeling well, sweetheart," she said softly, kneeling to meet her eyes. Can I help? Lila's lips quivered, and for a fleeting second, her guard dropped, her hand brushing the beanie as if to confess, but fear snapped her back. I'm fine, she mumbled, her voice cracking, and she clutched her stuffed rabbit, Mr. Whiskers, a worn toy. Ms. Harper had noticed her carrying. Mom says it's nothing. The lie hung heavy, and Miss Harper's throat tightened. She touched Lala's shoulder gently. You're so strong, Lala, but it's okay to need help. Lala's eyes shimmered with unshed tears, but she turned away, hugging Mr. Whiskers at her, determined. Miss Harper escorted Lila to the nurse's office, ignoring the girl's soft protests. Mrs. Linda Torres, the school nurse, took one look at Lila's flushed cheeks and frowned, her thermometer beeping at 102, 3F. She's running a fever. Jenna, Mrs. Torres said, her voice low. But I can't examine her head without parental consent. It's policy. Ms. Harper's frustration boiled. She's in pain. Linda, she collapsed yesterday. We can't wait. Mrs. Torres sighed, scribbling a note. I'll call her parents. But you need hard evidence to push this. Keep documenting. Lila sat on the cot, her small hands gripping her beanie, her eyes darting to the door as if expecting punishment. Don't tell, Mom, she whispered, her voice breaking. Miss Harper knelt beside her, her heart splintering. I just want you to be okay. Lila, but the fear in Lila's eyes said okay was a distant dream. Back in class, the tension thickened. During a group reading activity, Tyler, a brash boy fueled by playground Mgago, leaned toward Lila and sneered, What's under your creepy hat? Got a monster hiding there. The class giggled, but Lila's face crumpled, her hands flying to her beanie as tears welled. Stop it, she choked, her voice raw, and bolted from the room, Mr. Whiskers tumbling to the floor. Ms. Harper scooped up the rabbit and found Lila in the hallway, curled against a locker, sobbing. I'm not a monster, she whimpered, her hands shielding her beanie. Miss Harper knelt, handing her Mr. Whiskers, her own eyes stinging. You're not, Lila. You're brave, and you're enough. Lila clutched the rabbit, her sobs easing, but her grip on the beanie was iron tight, a barrier Ms. Harper couldn't yet breach. That afternoon, Ms. Harper called Lila's mother, Sarah Carter, her hands trembling as the phone rang. A harsh voicemail greeted her. Don't waste my time. She left a measured message requesting a meeting, but her gut knew Sarah wouldn't bite. Later, an email from Sarah confirmed it, her words dripping with venom. Stop harassing my daughter about her hat. It's a family matter. Push this, and you'll hear from my lawyer. The threat hit like a slap, especially with Mrs. Harper's probation hanging over her. Principal Karen Walsh, a no-nonsense administrator obsessed with avoiding lawsuits, summoned her to the office. Jenna, you're on thin ice, Walsh snapped, adjusting her glasses. You missed a student's red flags last year, and now you're stirring up trouble with no proof. Drop this, or you're out. Ms. Harper's chest tightened, but Lila's tear-streaked face flashed in her mind. She's hurting. Karen, she said, her voice steady. I can't ignore that. Walsh's glare was icy. Then get evidence, or keep your head down, undeterred. Ms. Harper dug deeper. During recess, she overheard a parent gossiping about the Carters' shady past, mentioning a lawsuit against a hair product company that sounded suspiciously linked to Lila's condition. Back in her classroom, she found a small, crumpled note slipped under her door. In Lila's wobbly handwriting, a drawing of a crying girl with a locked heart, captioned, Help, but don't tell. The plea, raw and desperate, made Mrs. Harper's eyes burn. Lila was reaching out, but her fear was a chain holding her back. Wednesday morning brought a new crisis. During a class photo session, Lila stood at the edge of the group, her beanie stark against the bright backdrop. As the photographer adjusted her pose, Lila winced, her hand pressing the beanie, and she swayed, collapsing to the floor with a soft thud. The class gasped, and Ms. Harper rushed over, her heart hammering. Lila's beanie had slipped slightly, revealing a larger patch of red, oozing skin. The sight so alarming, Mrs. Harper quickly covered it with her scarf. "It's okay, everyone," she said, her voice calm despite her panic, as she helped Lila sit up. "I'm fine," Lila whispered, but her feverish eyes and shallow breaths screamed otherwise. Ms. Harper locked eyes with Mia, who stood nearby, her face pale. "Get Mrs. Torres, now," she said. Mia nodded, sprinting out in the nurse's office. Mrs. Torres confirmed the fever had spiked to 102, 8F. "This is serious, Jenna," she said, her voice tight, but without parental permission. "My hands are tied." Ms. Harper's frustration erupted. "She's falling apart. Linda, were mandatory reporters so much worse? Does it need to get Mrs. Torres hesitated, then nodded. "I'll escalate it to CPS, but you need concrete proof. And fast." Lila, clutching Mr. Whiskers, looked up at Miss Harper, her eyes a mix of trust and terror. "They'll be mad," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Miss Harper squeezed her hand gently. "I'm not mad, Lila. I'm here for you." As Lila returned to class, Miss Harper found a daisy on her desk, its petals slightly crushed, with a note in Lila's handwriting. "Thank you for seeing." The flower, fragile yet defiant, was a spark of hope in the storm. Ms. Harper tucked it into her pocket, her resolve burning brighter. Sarah's threats, Walsh's warnings, her own precarious job known of it, mattered as much as the girl whose poem had cracked her heart open. The knot was tightening, and time was slipping away. Whatever was under Layla's beanie was tearing her apart, and Miss Harper would risk everything to save her. Thursday morning at Cedarville Elementary crackled with restless energy, the drizzle outside giving way to a tense, electric hum inside the school. The gym buzzed with the chaos of first-grade phys ed dodgeballs soaring, sneakers squeaking, kids shrieking with delight. Miss Jenna Harper stood on the sidelines, her eyes locked on Lila Carter, who hovered at the edge of the court, her navy beanie a dark beacon against the bright gym lights. Lila's face was ashen, her movements sluggish, her hands never straying from the beanie, as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. Miss Harper's heart pounded, the weight of Lila's poem, "My Head Hurts, My Heart's Sore," and the glimpse of oozing red skin haunting her. Sarah Carter's threats, Principal Walsh warnings, and her own probation loomed, but Lila's glassy eyes and trembling hands drowned out everything else. Time was running out. The dodgeball game reached a fever pitch, kids laughing as they hurled foam balls. Lila shrank back, her small frame hunched, her beanie slightly askew. Ms. Harper stepped closer, her instincts screaming, when a stray ball rocketed across the court, slamming into Lila's head with a sickening thud. Lila's cry pierced the air as she crumpled to the floor, her beanie flying off, landing in a crumpled heap a few feet away. The gym fell deathly silent, every eye on Lila's exposed scalp, a horrific sight of red, inflamed flesh, oozing sores, and patches of missing hair, blood seeping from a scratched lesion. The infection was a nightmare, far worse than Mrs. Harper had feared. Kids gasped, some covering their mouths, others backing away. Tyler, the boy who taunted Lila, froze, his face pale. Mia's eyes filled with tears, her hands clutching her braid. Lila, dazed, reached for her beanie, her fingers trembling, but then her body convulsed, her limbs jerking violently, her eyes rolling back in a seizure triggered by the infection spread to her bloodstream. Lila. Ms. Harper sprinted across the gym, dropping to her knees beside the girl, her heart hammering. "Somebody call 911, she shouted, her voice cutting through the panic. The gym teacher, Mr. Evans, fumbled with his phone, his hands shaking. "Now, Evans," Harper barked, cradling Lila's head, careful not to touch the ravaged scalp. Lila's small hand gripped Ms. Harper's, her fevered eyes locking onto her teacher's with a desperate, "Don't leave me." Blood matted a lock of Lila's hair, a fragile remnant of her childhood. and Ms. Harper tucked it gently behind her ear, choking back sobs. I'm here, Lila, always, she whispered, her voice breaking. The seizure slowed, but lightweight breathing grew shallow. Her lips tinged blue. Ms. Harper's training kicked in. She tilted Lila's head, checking her pulse, but it was faint, fading. No, no, no. She gasped, tears streaming as she began rescue breaths, her hands trembling. Stay with me, Lila, please. The gym's fluorescent lights flickered, casting eerie shadows, as if mirroring Lala's faltering life. Kids sobbed, huddled together, Mia clutching Mr. Whiskers' plus stuffed rabbit, which had fallen in the chaos. For a heart-stopping moment, Lila's chest stilled, her pulse gone. Ms. Harper's pleas echoed her unheard cries for Emily, her sister lost years ago. Come on, Lila, she begged, giving another breath, her tears falling onto Lila's face, a faint gasp. Lila's eyes fluttered, her chest rising weakly. Miss Harper sobbed in relief, holding Lila's hand as the wail of sirens finally broke through the distance. But the ambulance was delayed, stuck in a traffic snarl from a nearby accident, each second stretched into agony, Lila's breathing ragged, her grip on Ms. Harper's hand loosening. Ms. Harper whispered, "You're enough. Lila, you're enough." Her voice a lifeline as she kept Lila stable, blood soaking her sleeve from the oozing sores. Paramedics burst through the gym doors, their boots pounding the floor. 7-year-old female, severe infection, possible sepsis, recent seizure. Buzz, Harper reported, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. They slid an oxygen mask over Lila's face, lifting her onto a stretcher. Ms. Harper ran alongside, clutching Lila's hand, her scarf still draped over the girl's scalp to shield her from staring eyes. As the ambulance sped toward Cedarville General Hospital, Lila weak whimper, "I'm sorry." Mom Tori at Ms. Harper's heart. She squeezed Lila's hand, her eyes burning. "You're not in trouble, sweetheart. You're safe now." At the hospital, Dr. Emily Chen, a calm but steely pediatrician, took charge in the bustling ER. Lila was whisked to an exam room, monitors beeping as nurses worked swiftly. Miss Harper stood by, her hands bloodied, her heart in her throat. Dr. Chen's face tightened as she examined Lila's scalp, her gloved hands gentle but precise. "This is a severe bacterial infection," she said, her voice low, likely staphylococcus, untreated for months. "She's in septic shock. If we'd been any later, would have lost her." Ms. Harper's knees buckled, but she stayed upright, her eyes fixed on Lila, who lay pale under the harsh lights. Mr. Whiskers tucked beside her. Then came the twist, a gut punch that left Ms. Harper reeling. Dr. Chen pulled her aside, her expression grim. The infection was triggered by a recalled hair product contaminated with bacteria. "We found a prescription for Lila's treatment in her medical records, fully funded by a free clinic, dated 3 months ago." Miss Harper's breath caught. "She could have been treated, doctor." Chen nodded, her eyes darkening. Her mother, Sarah Carter, never filled it. Worse, Child Protective Services found evidence she scammed a $5,000 settlement from the product's manufacturer, claiming it was for Lila's care. She pocketed the money to avoid eviction, believing Lila could tough it out. "We found a letter in her purse, a photo of Lila smiling, with a note, 'I'm saving her future. She's strong enough.' The betrayal was a knife to the chest. Sarah's love for Lila, twisted by desperation and delusion, had nearly killed her daughter." Ms. Harper's hands clenched, tears spilling as she looked at Lila, hooked to IVs, her small frame so fragile. The photo, meant to symbolize hope, was a cruel lie. Sarah had chosen survival over her child's life, hiding the prescription to dodge CPS scrutiny after a prior investigation. The letter's cold logic, "She's strong enough," echoed in Ms. Harper's mind, a haunting justification for unimaginable neglect. American viewers, familiar with the grind of poverty and the fear of losing everything, would feel the sting of Sarah's choice, torn between pity and outrage. As Lila stabilized, her fever easing under antibiotics, Miss Harper stayed by her side, stroking her hand. The hospital room was quiet except for the soft beep of monitors and the rustle of nurses' footsteps. Lila's eyes flickered open. Finding Ms. Harper's, "Will Mom be mad?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. Ms. Harper's heart broke, but she forced a smile. "No one's mad. Lila, we're just going to help you feel better." Lila's fingers tightened around Mr. Whiskers, a small spark of trust in her gaze. Ms. Harper glanced at Emily's locket, hanging heavy at her neck, and made a silent vow. This ends now. No more secrets. The truth was out, but the battle was far from over. CPS was on their way, and Sarah and Tom Carter would face justice. Miss Harper's evidence, her notes, the poem, the glimpse of Lila's scalp would be crucial, but the cost was steep. Principal Walsh's threats loomed, her job hung by a thread, and Sarah's lawyer was circling. Yet, as Lila's breathing steadied, Ms. Harper knew every risk was worth it. The beanie lay discarded in the ER, its purpose concealing a child's agony exposed at last. The pediatric ward at Cedarville General Hospital was a quiet haven, its soft beeping monitors and pastel walls a stark contrast to the chaos of the ER. Lila Carter lay in a bed in room 312, her small frame dwarfed by crisp white sheets, an IV dripping antibiotics into her arm. The horrific infection that had ravaged her scalp was finally under control, thanks to Dr. Emily Chen's swift intervention. Lila's fever had broken, her cheeks regaining a faint flush of life, but her eyes still carried the weight of fear and betrayal. Her navy beanie, now discarded, sat in a sterile bag, a relic of the secret that had nearly killed her. Miss Jenna Harper sat by her side, her hands stained with the memory of Lila's blood, her locket a keepsake from her lost sister, Emily gleaming at her neck, the climax in the Jim Lila seizure. Her near-death gasp played on a loop in Harper's mind. But Lila's steady breathing was a lifeline, a promise that the fight had been worth it. Dr. Chen entered, her expression a mix of relief and resolve. "Lila's responding well," she said, checking the chart. "The infection's receding, and there won't be permanent damage, but she'll need weeks of treatment and counseling. This kind of neglect leaves scars beyond the physical." Miss Harper nodded, her throat tight. "What happens to her now?" Chen's eyes softened. "Child Protective Services is here. They've located her aunt, Lisa Reynolds, a nurse in Raleigh. She's on her way." Mrs. M. Harper's heart lifted, but the sting of Sarah Carter's betrayal, the scam settlement, the hidden prescription, the letter boasting Layla's strength cut deep. She stroked Lila's hand, vowing to stay until Lisa arrived. Lila stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Ms. Harper," she whispered, her voice hoarse, "will Mom be mad?" The question, fragile and laced with guilt, broke Ms. Harper's heart. She leaned closer, brushing a strand of Lila's hair, now clean and soft behind her ear. "No one's mad. Sweetheart, we're just going to make you feel better." Lila's fingers curled around Mr. Whiskers, her stuffed rabbit, a small smile flickering. "You stayed," she said, her voice barely audible. Ms. Harper's eyes stung. "Always," she promised, her hand resting over Lila's. Hours later, Lisa Reynolds arrived, a woman in her late 30s with kind eyes and a nurse's steady calm. Her resemblance to Lila was striking, same blue eyes, same gentle curve of the mouth, but her warmth was a world apart from Sarah's desperation. "I didn't know," Lisa said, her voice trembling as she met Ms. Harper outside Lila's room. "Sarah cut me off years ago. If I'd known about Lila—" She trailed off, tears spilling. Mrs. Harper squeezed her arm. "You're here now. That's what matters." Inside, Lila's face lit up at Lisa's arrival, a cautious trust blooming as Lisa hugged her, whispering, "You're safe with me, kiddo." Miss Harper watched, her chest aching with relief. Lila had a home, a real one. The legal fallout was swift and merciless. CPS, armed with Ms. Harper's meticulous notes, the poem, and Dr. Wei Chen's medical report built a damning case against Sarah and Tom Carter. In a stark courtroom a week later, Sarah stood, her face gaunt, her defiance crumbling as the judge read the charges: felony child neglect and endangerment. The prosecutor presented Sarah's letter sheets strong enough and the photo of Lila she'd kept, a cruel mockery of her neglect. Sarah sobbed, her voice breaking. I was saving her future. We were going to lose everything. Tom, silent beside her, stared at the floor, his hands cuffed. The judge's gavel fell 2 years in prison for Sarah, 3 for Tom, with mandatory therapy and no contact with Lila until deemed fit. Permanent custody was granted to Lisa, with adoption proceedings to begin. Ms. Harper, seated in the gallery, felt a complex search justice served, but a family shattered. At Cedarville Elementary, the repercussions echoed. Principal Karen Walsh was fired after a district review exposed her dismissal of Miss Harper's concerns, her obsession with avoiding lawsuits blinding her to Lila's suffering. The school board, spurred by Miss Harper's evidence, mandated a statewide overhaul of neglect reporting protocols. With Ms. Harper invited to consult, her probation was lifted, and a local news segment hailed her as a hero, her locket glinting as she spoke. Every child deserves to be seen. The recognition was bittersweet. She'd saved Lila, but Emily's ghost lingered, a reminder of what she couldn't undo. Lila's return to Cedarville, 3 weeks later, was nothing short of magical. The school transformed the gym into a wonderland for Lila's Brave Day, a festival orchestrated by Maya and the first graders, with parents and teachers pitching in. Fairy lights twinkled, a Lila Shines banner glowed, and a bounce house stood proudly in the corner. Lila stepped in, her silver headscarf embroidered with tiny stars, gleaming under the lights, her smile radiant. Gone was the hunched, fearful girl. In her place stood a child rediscovering joy. The school choir, led by Mia, sang "You Are My Sunshine," Lila's favorite, their voices swelling as parents wiped tears. Lila clutched Mr. Whiskers, her eyes wide with wonder, Lisa's hand steady on her shoulder. At the festival's heart, Lila took the microphone, her voice soft but clear. I hid because I was scared, she said, holding up her framed poem, its wobbly letters a testament to her pain. Miss Harper saw me, not just my beanie. She taught me it's okay to shine. The gym erupted in applause, parents sobbing, kids cheering. Lila's gaze found Miss Harper, and she stepped forward, pulling a small silver locket from her pocket a twin to Miss Harper's, with Lila's photo inside. You're my family now, Lila said, her voice trembling. Miss Harper's tears spilled as she hugged Lila, whispering, you saved me too. The crowd roared, confetti falling like stardust, a moment so iconic it would live in Cedarville's heart forever. Lila's legacy grew beyond the festival. She launched a Brave Buddies Club, pairing students to watch out for each other, her quiet leadership blooming. At the festival, she presented Ms. Harper with a handmade medal, a paper star, glued to a ribbon etched with, "For seeing me." Ms. Harper pinned it to her jacket, her eyes shining. The community, inspired by Lila's courage, established the Lila Carter Scholarship, raising $15,000 to support at-risk kid, ensuring her story would uplift others. Outside the school, Lila planted a hope tree, its branches adorned with ribbons bearing messages like, be brave and you are enough, a living monument to her healing. Ms. Harper's impact rippled further. Her viral TED Talk, delivered with Lila's locket gleaming, inspired a national push for teacher training on spotting neglect, her voice steady but raw. One child's pain can change everything. If we look, Cedarville's transformation was complete. The school, once blinded by bureaucracy, now a beacon of vigilance and care. As Lila ran through the festival, her headscarf sparkling, her laughter rang out, a sound of freedom that echoed in Miss Harper's heart. The beanie was gone, and with it, the walls of fear that had caged a child's spirit. Lila was no longer hidden, she was a light, and Cedarville would never look away again. Spring unfurled over Cedarville Elementary like a promise kept. cherry blossoms drifting across the playground where children's laughter rang out, bright and unburdened. 8 months had passed since Lila Carter first slipped into Ms. Jenna Harper's classroom, her navy beanie a veil for a secret that nearly claimed her life. The Hope Tree, planted during Lila's brave day, stood proud outside the school, its branches adorned with vibrant ribbons. Be brave. You are enough swaying gently in the breeze, a living symbol of a child's resilience and a town's awakening. Ms. Harper sat at her desk in room 14, her journal open under the soft glow of a lamp, Lila's handmade star medal pinned to her jacket, its paper edges softened by time. Beside it, her locket gleamed, holding photos of Emily, her sister lost to neglect, and Lila, the girl who gave her purpose. Lila had become a beacon, her silver headscarf, embroidered with stars, danced in the sunlight as she raced across the playground, giggling with Mia in a game of tag. Her short curl bounced, free of the infection that once ravaged her, healed by medicine and the love of her aunt, Lisa. But Lila's true transformation was in her spirit, her confident hand raised in class, her stories shared in the Brave Buddies Club, her quiet strength proclaiming she was enough. The Lila Carter Scholarship, fueled by Cedarville's rallied hearts, had lifted 12 at-risk kids, ensuring Lila's pain would spark hope for others. Miss Harper's path had shifted, too. Her TED Talk, delivered with Lila's locket shining, had reshaped teacher training across the nation, her voice a clarion call to see the unseen. Cedarville Elementary, once bound by red tape, was now a model of care, its new protocols a testament to Lila's courage and Ms. Harper's defiance. Yet, as she watched Lila laugh, Miss Harper's thoughts lingered on Emily, whose loss had driven this fight. Saving Lila hadn't erased that grief, but it had given it meaning. Every child, she'd learned, needed someone to notice, and Lila had made her that someone. She closed her journal, her gaze drifting to the Hope Tree through the window. Lila's pain broke my heart open, she wrote, but her courage stitched it back together. One moment of seeing a child's hurt can rewrite their story. We all have that power to notice, to act, to sow. The words were a vow, etched into her soul. Lila's pain broke my heart, but her courage rebuilt it. Every child needs someone to see their light. Will you be their champion? Share their story below. It could light someone's path. Hit that like button if Lila's courage moved you. Subscribe for more stories that change lives. And share this with someone who needs hope.